Let me start with a truth that most men never expect to hear. A woman can truly love you, care for you, and still treat you as if you'll always be there. She can cherish you in one moment, and yet quietly take you for granted the next. It happens far more often than most men realize. The strangest part, we usually don't even recognize we're doing it. We only notice after something shifts, when you stop chasing, when your attention fades, when your presence is no longer guaranteed. That's when the silence speaks louder than words. That's when everything inside of us begins to change. Understand this: most women are not plotting or cruel manipulators. We are emotional creatures. We act on impulse. We crave connection. And yes, we push boundaries to test how much a man is willing to give. Sometimes we mistake your steadiness for weakness. Sometimes we confuse your patience with a lack of options. And too often, we assume you'll never leave. Until you do. When a woman realizes that a man she thought was always within reach is no longer orbiting around her, something flips inside. It's not about what you're doing anymore. It's about how she feels in your absence. That is when the missing begins. This video isn't about blaming women. It's about telling you the raw truth, directly, from a woman's perspective. So you can stop wondering what went wrong and start to understand the invisible dynamics at play. Because yes, there are signs, subtle psychological shifts that reveal when a woman starts missing the man she once overlooked. And if you've ever been taken for granted, or if you've pulled back your energy and wondered what's happening inside her mind, this is for you. Before we dive in, let me know your name and where you're from. What struggles are you facing in your relationships, so I and the community can support you now? Let's get started. 1. It hits when you stop reaching out. Here's the part most men don't realize. A woman doesn't start missing you when you're arguing. She doesn't even miss you when she's giving you the cold shoulder, ignoring your texts, or acting like she couldn't care less. The real shift begins when you simply stop reaching out. Think about it. For days, maybe weeks, she's grown used to seeing your name appear on her phone. She's grown accustomed to your "how's your day" texts, your quick calls, your little check-ins that reassured her you were still orbiting around her. She may have rolled her eyes. She may have pretended those updates annoyed her. But deep down, they were proof of your presence. Then one day, it all goes silent. No message, no check-in, no small gesture to remind her you're there. That's when the silence doesn't just exist outside, it creeps inside her. Understand this: most women are conditioned to being pursued. We expect a man to prove himself, to show consistency, to keep showing up, even when we're hot one day and cold the next. When a man does this long enough, we feel powerful. We think we've got him secured, wrapped tightly, unable to break free. And from that illusion of security, it becomes dangerously easy to take him for granted. But when he suddenly stops, when the energy that always flowed toward her goes still, it jolts her entire system. At first, it shows up as confusion. Why hasn't he texted me yet? Then it morphs into nervous habit, checking her phone more often, refreshing her feed, watching your stories without ever liking or commenting. She feels the energy shift. She senses the absence, even if she won't admit it. And here's the truth: it doesn't take long, a few days, maybe a week of true silence. is enough to turn a woman who once claimed she needed space into someone suddenly anxious about what you're doing without her. Her thoughts begin to spiral. Did he meet someone else? Is he mad at me? Did I push too far? Is he really moving on? What most men never understand is that when a woman pulls away or acts indifferent, it's often a subconscious test. She's watching to see if you'll fight for her, if you'll prove yourself once more, but if instead of chasing, you hold your ground and let her drift. It shocks her system because deep down she expected you to hold on. That's when the truth hits her. She starts realizing just how much she relied on your presence, your voice, your attention, and your reliability. The things she once brushed aside now echo louder than ever. What she once dismissed as ordinary suddenly feels irreplaceable. And here's the cruel twist for her. She can't just return to where things were, because by then, you've changed. You're no longer the man who chases. You're no longer pouring your energy into someone who overlooked it. You've shifted. And suddenly, she's the one left wondering, the one replaying old messages, the one missing what she thought she could live without. That's the moment when the missing truly begins. 2. We remember the things you did that we didn't appreciate. Here's what might surprise you when a woman starts missing you. It's not the grand gestures that flood her memory. It's not the fancy dinners, the elaborate surprises, or the moments that looked impressive on the outside. No. What lingers are the little things, those small acts she barely noticed at the time, but now echo louder than anything else. Once they're gone, it's the good morning text you sent every single day without fail. It's the way you could read her exhaustion even when she forced a smile and said she was fine. It's you showing up not with roses, but with her favorite snack from the corner store. It's the way you remember details from conversations she thought she had tossed away in passing. At the time, she didn't always value it. She grew used to it, almost entitled to it. She told herself that was just who you were, the nice guy, the one who cared no matter what, the man who always showed up, and in her own moods, her frustrations, her selfish storms, she probably made you feel invisible, as if none of your efforts mattered, as if all that steady energy you poured into her was simply expected. But when you're gone, those same small things become impossible to ignore. The silence around them grows heavy. She begins to crave the steady, calming presence you provided, the kind of quiet support you never demanded credit for. She thinks about the way you forgave her on the days she wasn't at her best, and the way you made her feel safe when the world outside felt unstable. And suddenly, the things she dismissed as ordinary become extraordinary because no one else offers them like you did. This is when comparison creeps in. She spends time with new men, maybe even dates someone else. But the gap becomes painfully clear. These new faces don't have your depth. They don't notice her subtle cues. They don't remember her small details. They don't see her in the way you did. And that's when regret plants its roots. Because here's the raw truth. Most women won't say out loud she didn't just lose someone who liked her. She lost someone who genuinely cared. She lost someone who gave more than he received. Someone emotionally intelligent, attentive, and present. And that kind of man, he's rare. The rarest of all. That realization doesn't always come in dramatic moments. Often, it strikes in quiet hours, lying in bed at night, scrolling through her phone, stumbling on a photo or a song that reminds her of you. or in everyday frustrations when a new man gets annoyed instead of patient, dismissive instead of understanding, or when she tries to open up but feels the wall instead of the warmth you once gave so naturally. That's when the weight of it hits. You taught her a form of love she didn't even know she needed until it was gone. You offered a type of presence that she thought was ordinary, but in truth was extraordinary. And by the time she finally understands what she had, you're no longer there. So yes, she misses you, but more than missing you as a person, she misses how she felt when she was with you. She misses the comfort of being chosen, the security of being understood, and the rare peace of being truly seen. And if you've ever wondered whether she thinks about those little things you did, the answer is yes. Far more than you realize. 3. We start playing it cool, but inside we're spiraling. When a woman realizes she has taken a good man for granted, she doesn't usually admit it, not right away. Instead, she puts on a mask. She tries to look unbothered, as if losing you barely shook her world. How does she do this? By playing it cool. She posts pictures, smiling with friends, captions about living her best life, and maybe even entertains casual conversations with someone new. On the surface, it looks like she has already moved on. But here's the truth. Those moves are not signs of strength. They're defense mechanisms. She isn't doing those things because she's over you. She's doing them because she wants to look like she's over you. It's an attempt to fool you, and sometimes even herself, into believing she feels nothing. But beneath the curated posts and the polished smile, something very different is happening. Inside, she's spiraling, quietly, secretly. Replay after replay of your conversations runs through her mind. She wonders if she pushed too hard, if she mistook your patience for weakness, if she crossed a line that drove you away for good. That's how women often cope with regret. We don't face it directly. We compartmentalize. We bury it under noise, distractions, validation, attention from others. But none of it works. Because when a woman feels a deep emotional connection to a man and loses it, that bond doesn't vanish. It lingers. It haunts, and the haunting grows worse when she sees you moving forward. You're not sulking. You're not bitter. You're glowing up. You're leveling up in the gym, in your career, in your peace of mind. You're becoming the version of yourself she always said she wanted. But you're doing it without her. That stings more than she'll ever admit. Because in that moment, she realizes the problem was never that you weren't enough. The problem was that she didn't recognize your value in time. And by the time she does, you've shifted. You're no longer orbiting around her. Still, she doesn't rush back. Her pride tells her to wait. She holds out hope that you'll reach out first, that you'll still care, still wonder, still chase. But when you don't, panic sets in. She starts asking herself questions she's never asked before. Was I too cold? Did I demand too much? Did I make him feel invisible? Does he hate me now? And the silence makes it worse. Because silence from a man she assumed would always be there is louder than any words you could ever speak. It forces her to sit with what she ignored. Every act of kindness she brushed aside. Every small sacrifice she never acknowledged. Every sign of loyalty she failed to respect. The longer you stay silent, the more she realizes something terrifying. You might actually be gone this time. Not pretending, not waiting, not circling back. Gone. That's when missing you transforms into something heavier, It becomes regret, and regret slowly sharpens into a wake-up call, a recognition that she underestimated you, that she confused your love with weakness, that she misjudged your patience as desperation. Now, not every woman reaches this stage. Some bury it forever, running from regret until the end. But the ones who truly cared, even if they didn't act like it when they had you, feel it deeply once you're gone. And the weight of that feeling doesn't fade. It lingers in the quiet moments, in the silence you left behind, reminding her that the man she thought would always be there is no longer waiting. That's when she starts to spiral for real. And that's when she finally understands what she lost. 4. The ego battles. Emotion always wins, eventually. When a woman begins to miss a man she once took for granted, it's never as simple as just missing him, nor inside her. A battle begins. It's not calm or quiet. It's a war between her ego and her emotions. And both sides fight with everything they have. One part of her is screaming, "You ruined this. You let go of a good man." The other side counters, "No, stay strong. Don't admit anything. He should have fought harder for you." That inner conflict is brutal. The ego wants to protect her pride. It whispers, "Don't apologize. Don't reach out. Don't make the first move. If you do, you'll look weak. You'll lose control." For many women, especially those who are used to being chased or used to holding the power, ego becomes the shield. They cling to it, even when that very shield is costing them the connection they desperately want back. But here's the truth. Emotions never stay buried forever. They rise, they surface. They break through the cracks, no matter how tightly the ego tries to hold them down. And when those emotions hit, they come in waves, sometimes at night, when the room is dark and quiet. Sometimes when she stumbles across something that reminds her of you, a song, a photo, a memory. Sometimes when she's laughing with someone new, only to realize deep down it's not the same. That new person doesn't make her feel the way you did. And in those moments, the emotional tide grows stronger than the ego's resistance. This is when she begins to admit things she was once too proud to say out loud. I wanted him to read my mind. I pushed him to keep proving himself when he was already exhausted. He acted like I didn't need him. But the truth is, I did. As those admissions pile up, the ego begins to lose ground. Still, she won't always show this shift right away. On the outside, she may look unchanged. Even detached, you might think she has moved on. But inside, she's wrestling with herself. She's torn between holding on to pride and surrendering to emotion. That's when the small tests begin. She might watch your stories. She might like an old post. She might send a casual, "Hey, I hope you're good," message that seems meaningless on the surface but carries a deeper plea. "I'm still thinking of you. Is the door still open?" Understand this. It's not always about wanting a full reconciliation right away. Often, she simply wants reassurance that she hasn't lost you completely, that you're still there, that she can still reach you, that the connection isn't dead. But if she senses that you've truly checked out, if your energy has shifted, if your silence is firm, if your presence is no longer available, then emotion completely shatters the ego. And that's when missing you transforms into something heavier. It becomes that sick feeling in the pit of her stomach, a regret that has no return. A pain women rarely talk about because it humbles them. It strips away the illusion of control and leaves them wishing they could rewind time, rewind the words they said, the games they played, the pride they clung to when they thought they had all the time in the world. That's the price of taking a good man for granted. At first, it feels like power, but in the end, the ego loses, and emotion forces the truth to surface. She didn't just lose a man, she lost a rare kind of connection, and she realizes it only when it's too late. 5. When we see you glow without us. It hits different. You want to know the moment when a woman truly begins to miss the man she once dismissed. It's not right after the breakup. It's not even in those first waves of silence when you stop reaching out. The real impact hits later, when she realizes you didn't stop living your life, when she sees that you didn't crumble, didn't sit around in self-pity, didn't wait for her return. That's when it strikes hard, because for most women, there's an assumption that the man they left behind will stay frozen in place, emotionally stuck, waiting for another chance. But when you break that script, when you glow without her, that's when the shock sets in. I'll give you an example. There was a man I once thought I had complete control over. We had been on and off for months. He was kind, patient, emotionally stable. All the things most women claim to want. But here's the mistake I made. I treated his steadiness like it was boring. I told myself he was safe, not exciting. And because of that, I thought he would always be there, no matter how I treated him. Then one day I opened his Instagram, and I hardly recognized him. He looked lighter, freer, happier. He was out with friends, traveling, posting pictures at events, hitting the gym. There was a new brightness in his smile that I never saw when we were together. And the most painful part, there was no bitterness in his words, no passive-aggressive captions, just peace. I hated it, not because I wanted him to suffer, but because I realized in that moment that I no longer had any power over him. I had let a good man go, and now he was thriving without me. I can admit, I panicked. I even typed out messages to him more than once, only to delete them before hitting send. And the thoughts started spiraling. Was I that forgettable? Did I ever matter to him? Did he already replace me? Here's the truth. When a man pulls away, sometimes we roll our eyes. But when a man transforms, when he elevates himself and glows up, we notice. Every woman notices when a man stops chasing and starts shining. It creates a psychological shift we can't ignore, because suddenly, we're no longer the ones doing the evaluating. Instead, we feel like we're the ones being evaluated. And the worst sting of all, when it's obvious you're not doing it to impress us, not faking confidence to get our attention. You're just living. You're in your zone. You're rebuilding from a place of genuine strength. That authenticity cuts deeper than any words ever could. When we took you for granted, we assumed you'd stay the same, stuck in the same emotional space. But when your energy changes, when you're calm, unbothered, detached yet radiant, it forces us to face something we were trying to avoid. We were part of the problem. We realized that the man we once overlooked is no longer within reach. And now, we're watching a new version of you, the healed, evolving version. But this time, it doesn't belong to us. That's when the missing becomes unbearable. Not the light kind of missing, but the heavy kind, the kind that twists your stomach, that wakes you up in the middle of the night with regret, the kind that makes you replay everything and wonder how you ever let someone like that slip away. Because glowing without her isn't just about success. It's about showing, without words, that you were never dependent on her validation. And when she sees that, when she feels the finality of it, it haunts her. Because the truth is, she didn't just lose a man. She lost the chance to be part of the version of you that became unstoppable without her. 6. When you stay silent. It forces us to feel everything. Let me share something you don't often hear from women. Silence from a man who once cared isn't just no contact. It's something far more powerful. It's psychological warfare, the kind that doesn't require a single word, yet shifts the entire dynamic. Here's what really happens behind the scenes. When we take a man for granted, it's usually because we assume he'll always be around. If he's forgiving, patient, always checking in, always available, we translate that as safe. But safe in a woman's mind can quickly turn into replaceable. We think we can test him, push him, and he'll still be there. But when that same man goes quiet, when he stops calling, stops reacting, stops putting in effort, something changes. His silence doesn't just create distance. It creates tension. It opens up space for reflection. And that's dangerous for us, because the silence becomes a mirror. And mirrors don't lie. Without his voice in our lives, without the steady stream of reassurance, we're forced to hear our own thoughts. And that's when the questions creep in. Did I mess this up? Why hasn't he reached out? Was he really that into me? Or is he already over me? Those thoughts spiral quickly, because once we sense you're no longer emotionally attached, it doesn't feel like peace to us. It feels like rejection. And rejection is something women struggle with, especially from a man we once assumed would never leave, even if we were the ones who walked away, even if we were the ones who pulled back first. Your silence feels like punishment. You're not doing anything but minding your own business. Yet to us, it feels like a consequence. And here's what most men don't realize. When a woman knows she took a man for granted and he doesn't reach out, she doesn't feel empowered. She feels replaced. That fear grows quietly. Day after day, we start watching from a distance, checking if you've moved on, looking to see if your energy has shifted, asking simple questions, or even searching for your name online. And when we can't find anything, no posts, no updates, it drives us crazy, because we know what that really means. You're gone, not temporarily, not waiting, gone for good. And deep down, every woman who has taken a man for granted fears one thing above all, that he'll finally realize his worth without her validation, that he'll no longer need the approval, the attention, or the recognition he once gave her so freely, that he'll step into his true strength without looking back. So, if you're in that silent phase right now, wondering whether she's thinking about you, the answer is almost certainly yes. But here's what's more important. It's not just that she's thinking, it's that she's feeling. She's sitting in a space she's not used to, a space where she's not in control. Her feminine influence no longer sways you, and she knows it. And when a woman feels that kind of disconnection from a man she once dismissed, regret shows up, not loudly, not publicly, but quietly and deeply. That's why breaking the silence too soon is a mistake. You may feel uncomfortable. You may feel the urge to reach out. But silence is far more powerful than you realize. It's not absence. It's presence in a different form, the kind that forces her to face herself. And when she does, she won't just remember you. She'll regret losing the version of you who finally stopped giving her the power to take you for granted. 7. If you let her treat you like you're replaceable. Let me be brutally honest here, because sometimes men need to hear the raw truth from someone who actually respects them. If you allow a woman to treat you like an afterthought, if you continue showing up for her when she doesn't show up for you, if you keep proving loyalty to someone who doesn't value it, you are teaching her a silent lesson that you are replaceable. And once a woman starts believing that, she will act as if it's true. Now, I'm not saying women are heartless or malicious, but women are emotional, intuitive, and when it comes to relationships, incredibly responsive to how a man presents himself. If you're always available, always agreeable, always forgiving, even when we cross boundaries, something changes in how we see you. We stop experiencing your value and begin interpreting your behavior as desperation. And let me be clear, desperation is one of the most unattractive energies a man can project. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Women do not respect what we can control. If we know that no matter how we act, you'll still be there, we stop feeling the urge to rise to our best around you. Why would we? The challenge is gone. The respect fades. Instead of seeing you as rare, we start to see you as easy, predictable, emotionally cheap, not because we set out to take advantage of you, but because human nature works that way. When you allow a dynamic to form where your energy is unconditional, even when it's not reciprocated, we will inevitably take it for granted. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to stay that way. And the answer is not to beg for respect, not to demand it with words, and not to chase harder, hoping she'll finally notice your worth. The shift begins when you withdraw your energy from where it isn't valued. When you stop pouring into someone who refuses to pour back, you change the entire power dynamic, not through tricks or tactics, but by living at a higher standard, not as a performance, but as a lifestyle. This is when everything shifts, because whether we admit it or not, women can feel the moment a man's energy changes. We notice when you stop chasing, when you stop proving yourself, when you carry yourself as someone who knows he brings value to the table and no longer begs for anyone to sit with him. And that shift is magnetic, because it's rooted in quiet, confident detachement. So, if you're in a situation where you gave too much and she started treating you like an option, the time has come to stop pointing fingers and start asking yourself the harder question. What part of me believed that if I just gave more love, it would finally make her appreciate me? That is the part of you that needs healing. Because the moment you realize that you are the one who sets the tone for how you're treated, everything changes. A woman cannot take for granted a man who doesn't give her the chance to. Let that sink in. And here's another truth most women won't say out loud. We don't miss you simply because you were nice. We don't miss you because you did everything right. We miss you when you make us feel something that can't be replaced, and that something doesn't come from money, status, or looking perfect. It comes from how you hold yourself. It's the emotional imprint you leave behind when you finally walk away. But here's the key. You don't walk away in anger. You don't storm off in desperation. You walk away in peace. That's why quiet detachment cuts so deeply. When a man stops trying to prove his worth and instead lives like he knows it, that's when the remembering begins. That's when the haunting starts for us. Because if we took you for granted, that shift doesn't just sting, it lingers. It follows us. It gnaws at us. It makes us realize that we cannot get that version of you back. Not unless we rise to meet you. Not unless we elevate ourselves to be worthy of the man you became when you stopped giving away your energy freely. So if you've been hurt by a woman who didn't see your value, hear this: don't chase closure. Don't chase her. Don't keep begging for recognition. Instead, become the man who doesn't need to be seen because he already sees himself. And believe me when I say it, that is the man we never forget. That is the man we miss. Before we wrap up, I want to hear from you. Have you ever given your all to a woman who took you for granted? Did she eventually come back? Or did you walk away for good? Share your story in the comments. I'll be reading and responding. Because your experiences matter and can help other men grow. And if this message spoke to you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss future lessons.